Okay, so now we're going to switch away from ecological footprint to land consumption. Okay, land consumption in urban areas, and as you probably have seen, some of the big cities in India, they're expanding so much. Right? You've probably seen in Patna also. The cities are expanding so much, but some of the cities in other countries are expanding much more than places in India. And one of the big concerns globally is this thing called urban sprawl. So I'm going to just go around the room and ask some people to tell me what comes to their mind when they hear this phrase, urban sprawl, okay? So I'll just call on you and ask you what comes to your mind when you hear the hear the phrase urban sprawl. So Julie, why don't you tell us what does urban sprawl mean to you? No, whatever comes to your mind. Whatever comes to your mind is fine. Congestion, okay. In an urban setup, okay. So, would you describe like does Delhi? You're familiar with Delhi since you're from JNU, right? Delhi has urban sprawl.
Yes.
Okay.
Some areas.
Okay.
When they are
Okay. 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 Good. Thank you. Thank you. So, Animesh, what does urban sprawl mean to you?
Sprawl is the area. It is an extension of a city in which it is unorganized place.
Yeah.
And there are lots of cars which creates congestion because of very narrow roads.
Yeah.
And that makes urban sprawl, which is unorganized area of a major city.
Okay, good. Thank you very much, Animesh. What about you, Vivek Kumar? Vivek, tell us a little bit about urban sprawl.
Sir, urban sprawl is which is unplanned and unorganized setup in urban area.
Okay.
It's like a rural setup in India.
Okay. Okay. Good. Thank you. Thank you. What about Richa? What does urban sprawl mean to you? Okay. Okay. Okay, good. Thank you. Thank you. And I'll ask one more person. How about Vivek Prasad is not here. Otherwise, I would have asked him. He's gone. Ajay?
Uncontrolled expansion in the city.
Uncontrolled horizontal expansion. Okay, good. Along the roads. In other words, within an urban area there will be lots of green space, and then after some time there will be some more development. Right?
It's
Good.
continuous.
Just continuous.
Yeah, compared to the boundaries.
Great. So in many countries in the world, there is a lot of urban sprawl. In India, cities are expanding, and there is some urban sprawl, but some other countries in the world like Australia, Canada, US, urban sprawl is very bad. Like there's a lot of urban sprawl. And it's a huge problem because it takes a lot of environmentally sensitive resources, takes away a lot of land, and land is converted from either environmentally sensitive land is converted to urban land, or agriculturally productive land is converted to urban land. So it's very wasteful. And once you convert environmentally sensitive land or agricultural land into urban, it's a one-way conversion. Reversing it is very difficult. So it's a huge problem. So I'll share with you some definitions of urban sprawl, some problems with urban sprawl, and some ways in which urban sprawl can be contained. Even in most of this, the examples I'll share with you are from Western contexts, but they can be used in India also. Okay, and depending on next week, we might have. Well, I'll come up with some exercise on this on urban sprawl next week. Okay, so urban sprawl is generally characterized by very low density, which is not the case in India generally. And generally, a lot of the development is high density, but now many colonies are getting made and many layouts are getting made on the edge of cities that have very low density. So urban sprawl is happening in India also, but in many other countries, it's one house per acre. Okay, that's really urban sprawl. At least in India, it might be like maybe 5, 6, 10, 12 houses per acre, right? So colonies are going out, right? Yeah, and these colonies are sometimes going far away from the developed portion of the city, right? And that's urban sprawl. Another part of urban sprawl is that there is an emphasis on cars for getting around. Okay, that's a huge problem with urban sprawl. If people have to go from their house even to buy milk, they have to get into the car and go. Yeah, so it is building a dependency on the car. Urban sprawl does that. Even if it is higher density, I think in India the higher density is higher because it's colonies and housing societies. Density is higher than in the US, but still it's building a auto-based lifestyle, auto-dependent lifestyle. So that's urban sprawl. More in urban sprawl, a lot of the push for growth happens at the boundary, at the edge, and the city is going outwards and outwards, and as ma'am said, very close to roads. You move 1 or 1.5 kilometers from around the road and there'll be like open space. And that's a problem because when you develop infrastructure, it's good if the infrastructure is developed uniformly rather than along some narrow corridors. So also, sometimes when you have this urban sprawl, these colonies that are built out are within the colony, it's people of one income class, often maybe one religion and caste maybe, and that's in the long run it's not a good thing, right? You want a mix of incomes, you want a mix of races, religions, caste and all that. So in India it might be caste or religion. In the US it's by race, segregation by race. It's bad. You need to have races living together. You need people of different incomes living together. And urban sprawl allows for people to live separately. So therefore it's not good. Urban sprawl is not good. There are a whole bunch of videos. I'll take a screenshot of this, and if you have time this evening, just go and see one of these. One of these videos, okay? Yeah. And they are from different times. All of them are from the US. They're all from different times. And they're all different, okay? So for example, what is urban sprawl? This is about 10 minutes. Whereas this one, the story of sprawl, this one, it's about 1 hour, 15 minutes. So whatever, however much time you have, if you get a chance, take a look at these, and this will give you an example of the problems with urban sprawl. Yes, because of the, as you go further and further away, the amenities and resources that you have access to will be lesser and lesser, right?
And there will be identity-based discrimination.
Right, exactly, fantastic. So urban sprawl is a bad thing, but it's happening all over the world. It's happening, it actually started in US, Canada, Australia, but almost all developing countries are trying to go towards that model, right? And that's bad. So urban sprawl is very, very bad. And planners in US, Australia, we're trying to, like my students, we are trying to get developers not to do this. We're trying to get governments not to encourage this kind of thing. So we really don't want things to happen in India. We don't want urban sprawl to happen in India. So consequences of urban sprawl are that it takes up a lot of environmentally sensitive land, and this land is lost, yeah.
Like what we see in India, this sprawl is not managed by the government. It's an unplanned area.
Yeah.
And later on the government is forced to plan for this area. So is this the same case around the world as well?
No, there it is planned urban sprawl, which is even worse, right? Because the governments are allowing this to happen. Yeah.
Here people are finding cheaper land outside the main city, and that's why they are settling towards the there, and the sprawl is continuing.
Yeah. And then later on, go ahead, Ashish.
We can't manage that. That's what you are telling. The rapid growth is happening. Government can't cope up with that.
Yeah. And so a government should, what is happening in India is land development. The government is trying to regulate land development, but it's producing new land at a very low rate. So in some ways it's over-regulation that is reducing the supply, and people are forced to find housing outside it. If the government could say, like for example, I've looked at this in Haryana near Delhi. The local government there is working with private developers. So there is less slum development in Haryana because there is the government is working with the private developers to produce more housing. Whereas if you go in Delhi, there is a lot of control of development, and because of that heavy amount of control, not enough housing is being produced, and therefore there are a lot of slum developments and illegal colonies, unauthorized colonies in Delhi. Okay, so governments have to change. They have to recognize that their capacity in the face of this rapid urbanization is limited. So they need to work more with private developers and work with them to increase the supply. Because lots of people living in illegal colonies, as I mentioned, either one of these days I mentioned that they have reasonable income. They're teachers and college professors, and they have reasonable income. They would rather live in a authorized colony rather than in an unauthorized colony, right? But there isn't that authorized colony. So that. Okay. So then, because of these long driving distances, there's more air pollution. Okay, a lot of air pollution, higher energy consumption. I don't know if many of you here were on the first day, and I showed you a video by a futurologist named Alex Stefan, and he had one graph on it. Do you guys remember the graph? I'll bring up the graph, like tomorrow I'll bring up the graph again. Okay, the graph will show you how in US cities, energy consumption is so high, whereas some Asian cities, such as Tokyo and Hong Kong and Singapore, energy consumption is very low. And the reason is, and good, low energy consumption is good, right? And the reason in the US is urban sprawl. People are driving great distances, and because of that, they're consuming lots of energy. Urban sprawl has another problem. Okay? Like, I'll give you an example in the US. People go further and further away from the city center, because as you go further away from the city center, price of land goes down. So they can buy a bigger house, bigger parcel of land and a bigger house. Okay? So they do that. So they buy a bigger parcel of land, a bigger house, and every morning to get to their office by 8:30, they have to leave by 6:30. So they leave their house by 6:30 and they're driving, they get to their office by 8:30. By the time they've driven for 2 hours and reached their office, they're ready to take a nap. Right? I mean, it has been such a challenge to get to the office. So they're getting to the office exhausted. Then they work from 8:30 to 5:30. And then they reach there, from 5:30 they start back and they reach home at 7:30 or so. When they reach home at 7:30, they barely have enough time to eat and go to sleep. Kids are already sleeping and they have barely enough time to eat and go to sleep. So that's what they're doing 5 to 6 days a week. So what are they working for? Because they don't have any life with their family, they don't have any life with their community. They're just driving there, coming back, driving there, coming back, and that's it. And that creates two kinds of problems. One is psychological problems because they're not, and social problems within the family. But also it leads to a very, very sedentary lifestyle. You're sitting for 2 hours to the office, sitting in the office for 8 hours, then sitting for 2 more hours, and therefore there is more obesity. Okay, and one of these days I'll pull up some graphs and I'll show you how obesity in the US has really increased. And one of the reasons why it has increased is urban sprawl. And so public health officials in the US and many other countries are trying to work with planners. Public health officials are coming to planners and say, please don't make the cities go spread out. Because of that, we have a major public health crisis.
So there is more to it.
Yeah.
Because I've heard European cities are compact,
Yeah.
higher density,
Yeah.
and American cities are spread out.
Yeah.
And they had these tram tracks, but they got it removed.
Yeah.
There are no trams running in these cities. So
Yeah.
that is one reason.
Yeah.
It's a nexus between the car companies and the government.
Not so much not between the government and the car companies. The car companies have tried to promote the car. Yeah.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah.
With the government's help support.
Generally, even without, I'll give you an example. One of the big companies, oil companies, oil companies. One of the big oil companies is called used to be called Standard Oil. Now the names have changed, they're merged and all that. Standard Oil wanted to increase oil consumption. So this is not even a car company. Wanted to increase oil consumption. They can increase oil consumption if people are all driving. So they went to many cities, and in many cities they had bus companies, public transportation companies. So the oil company went and bought the bus company and then stopped running the buses. Yeah. So they went and paid for the bus company and they stopped running the buses and forced people to go buy cars or be more dependent on cars. The other problem with urban sprawl is this point that you mentioned. When you have in European cities, there is lesser urban sprawl. When you have people living at higher density, remember the concepts of threshold and range that we discussed? So there will be more stores, different kinds of stores within walking distance. When you have urban sprawl, you don't have the threshold population for many goods and services. So therefore, even to buy milk and bread, you have to drive for 4 or 5 miles. So therefore, because of urban sprawl, you're driving again. And you don't have any reason to go and walk. Even if there are nice pedestrian paths, there's no reason to go and walk because there is no destination within walking distance. Because there are no stores within, because of that low density.
By the way, have you been out of this area? You've been to the local markets and all that?
I have been only on one trip outside the campus. Today maybe we'll go.
I think you should go. These cities are different.
Yeah, and
women from America, I have seen some of these posts. They like the arrangements, some of the arrangements in India, that your milk, foods and everything is very close by. You can go easily, you don't have to pay payments in cash. There are UPI and scan and pay systems that are not available.
Right, that's true. I mean, so I should clarify. I have not been outside the NIT Patna campus, but I've been coming to India since 2009. So I know exactly. So I've seen that. Yeah.
I can tell you the difference because I've been in London.
Yeah.
And there, if you have to buy milk or anything, so say the TVs are out of stock.
Yeah.
But you have to go all the way to the supermarket.
Right.
But in India, you have a shop
next door.
Just come out of your house and then there'll be shops.
Exactly. So there are reasons to walk.
There
Yeah.
are reasons to walk.
Yeah.
This kind of development.
But it is changing, right? Some of the new housing developments, they are far away and they don't have these small stores. Yeah. And all of them are trying to go towards a US UK model. They're trying to. And that's not good. What has historically been here is good. Yeah. And in US and many other countries, they are trying to bring this back. In US also, it used to be like this. It used to be like 50, 60 years ago, there'll be a small store in at every corner there'll be a small store who would have all these kinds of things. Then these crazy stores like Walmart, all those guys came, and these small stores could not compete with them. Yeah. So yes, everyone is trying to. So in India, the mix that we have of land use is really good. There is also in the historic area there is a mix of incomes also. I've been bringing students to some places in India and since 2009, and one of the interesting things is, in any particular like 1 km by 1 km area, you might have a few rich houses and you might have a few poor houses. That is fantastic. But at the edge, what you see now is upper middle income only on the edge of cities, and that's not good. That income mix is good. And loss of farmland, risk of flooding. You've seen what's happening in Bangalore, right? Small amount of rain and all the streets are full of water. A lot of native vegetation is removed, and those of you who've seen pictures of gone to the US, you'll see a large housing development, 2,000 houses. All of they'll be occupied. All of them will be painted same color. Yeah, same shape, same color. Yeah, and it's very difficult. If you don't live in that area, you would be wondering, how do people find their own house?
So in India, if you go to Chandigarh, it's something similar.
Yeah.
Especially the old town, the one that was designed after.
By Corbusier. Yeah.
Of course. That is one.
Yeah. But in India, that's not so, right? Generally, but it's also becoming like that in many cities on the periphery. Yeah. Yeah. So, as planners, you guys should fight that. You should not let those developers build this monotonous thing. Push back against that. Tell them change the color. Even if the house type is the same, change the color. And do something. No, it is right in the center of the city, right?
That's a slum.
Yeah, it's a slum. Yeah.
So what we are aiming is the 5-minute city concept.
5 or 15 minutes, even 15 minutes.
City concept.
Yeah.
It's still not clear as to what urban sprawl is. Can I?
Yeah, please.
If you go from Patna to any other city, so before reaching the city, you already see developments all along the roads, and then you have still not reached the city. That kind of a development is urban sprawl.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is like blurring the boundary of.
Blending the bonds. But
Yeah.
you can understand that now you're about to reach the city. So all those developments all along the roads, not beyond that, just along the road, some distance along.
And what happens in urban sprawl in many countries, not so much in India. When India, urban sprawl is still limited. And what happens in other countries is, as the city expands on the periphery, the center of the city gets abandoned. And there'll be lots of places where there's empty. Buildings are sitting empty. And it's really sad because all the infrastructure is there. The roads are there, the water supply is there, the sewer system is there, but no one is living there because everyone has gone to the edge. And the city has to now build infrastructure for the edge. And it's so inefficient because there the development is low density. So along 1 mile of road length, there are 3 houses. So you have to put so much of pipe for 3 houses. But in the center of the city, for 3 houses, you need only 1/10 of a mile. And so it is increasing municipal expenses, maintenance expenses, infrastructure provision expenses. So urban sprawl is bad for many reasons.
Sir,
Yeah.
in the Patna city,
Yeah.
what is happening, the infrastructure or the buildings which are coming up in the at the edges of cities,
Yeah.
there the lots of flats are empty or vacant.
Yeah.
Here black money is involved, and due to that, so many people have bought 4 or 5 or 6 flats, and in a whole apartment only 2 or 3 families are living and no other people are living.
Yeah.
Such types of building are here also.
Yeah.
And this the thing that you said is that happening in the center is happening at the edge
At
of
the
the
edge,
city.
yes. Okay. And that's also bad because the city has provided water supply, sewage, everything to that area, and only 20% of the houses are being used. Yeah. So that's a bad thing as well.
But looking at the data, sir, like we are being forced for urban sprawl because of migration and urbanization that is happening rapidly in India.
Yeah.
Whereas in America, it's planned at urban sprawl, which you are mentioning that is much worse.
It's much worse.
What are few more reasons that is considered much worse than we are going without planning and all?
I'll tell you
We are
why.
being forced.
Because there the governments and the policies are creating something that is actually bad. Here it is happening because
The government is lagging behind.
lagging behind.
Can regulate the price of property within the urban area that we are
Regulating price of property is so difficult, right?
I think so there should be the conversion of land rate should be also levied on people. That
Yeah.
if you are making a field or cropland into a building,
Yeah.
then the conversion fee should be also applied here.
Doesn't it get applied
Sir,
here?
like,
There is a conversion.
yeah.
Like there's a betterment tax or something like that, right?
Relaxation that
Land
they are
use commuting of land use.
Okay.
It's not agricultural anymore, it's for commercial purpose or residential purpose.
Yeah.
That is
Is the realization
language.
So, this is what in some US context that they have tried to solve it, and some of them might be useful for the Indian context. So I'll just give you, to make you familiar, I'll share these things, but not all of them are applicable to the Indian context, but just so you're familiar for what's happening, okay? One is having an urban growth boundary. That might not work in India, okay, because so much of illegal stuff is happening, right? Even if you say that this is the boundary of the city, no one should build outside. In India and many other developing countries, people will still build outside. In the US, what happens is, the government will decide, like one of the examples is, if you ever want to look at it, there is a city called Portland, Portland. So there the government said, we want to control this uncontrolled expansion. We don't want uncontrolled expansion. So in 1975, they looked at the population of the city. Let's say the population was 5 lakhs, let's say. And they said, they estimated by 2020 the population would be like 7 lakhs. Okay, they estimated that. And they said, how much land would we need for 7 lakhs? Made some estimate. And they, using that estimate, they identified a boundary. So in 1975, the city was not up to the boundary, okay? There was space between the existing urban form of the city and there was green space outside for the city to expand. So they made a boundary. And they said, all development from now on till foreseeable future has to be within this boundary. So the boundary was based on some natural features like a river or a stream, and then some major highways, national highway, state highway, and they identified it. So it was not based on necessarily like, you know, Anil's land is inside the boundary and Arjun's land, not like that. Taking some natural and man-made features, they identified the boundary. And then they said, if you are within the boundary, we will give you infrastructure as you build. If you are outside the boundary, no infrastructure. No water supply, no sewage. Regardless of political connections, whatever. No water supply, no sewage, no transportation, no access to fire engines, nothing. You have to do all those on your own if you build outside the boundary. If you build inside the boundary, all of this will be provided by the city. Now, when that happened, if there was someone wanting to build outside the boundary, even if they built outside the boundary, they were not able to sell it. Because people said, we want water supply provided by the municipality, we want sewage supply provided by the municipality, we want fire protection, like fire engines, police protections. So yes, we will build inside the boundary. So the builders said, okay, we will build inside the boundary. Okay, so they managed to enforce the boundary. Now, a few things happened from that. Once they started enforcing the boundary, the city was now able to provide better quality services because they didn't have to spread the services over a long distance. They were able to provide better quality services much more efficiently. So people started, in the state and in the country, started looking at this area and saying, hey, this area is really developing very, very well. They have good quality infrastructure, they have good roads, they have nice roads and nice parks and all that. Demand for the place increased. People started saying, in India, 30, 40 years ago, a lot of people, young professionals and old people, wanted to go to Bangalore because they felt that this is a great city. That was 30, 40 years ago, right? Now probably not. But yes, people started saying in the US about Portland, let's go to Portland. So from 1990 till about 2020, for 30 years, everyone between the age of 20 and 40 wanted to find a job in Portland. Everyone in the US, between the age of 20, like finishing college, let's say 21, till the age of 40, wanted to somehow get to Portland because it was such a good quality place. And then the opposite thing happened. Like there was so much of demand. The city had to choose: should we extend the boundary outside or do something? And the city said, we won't extend the boundary outside. What we are going to do is, we are going to encourage people to build more dense inside. And the city put in place many policies that were encouraging more development inside. And then to prevent segregation by income or class, okay? The city said whenever developer builds any housing, if they're building 100 houses for people, let's say for middle income group, they're building 100 houses for middle income group, they'll have to include around 10 houses that is for the low income group. If they're building 100 houses for the higher income group, they have to include around 5 houses for middle income group and 5 houses for low income group. So by that, they tried to avoid this segregation by income and class. Okay, they really did. Then they did another thing. They said in the center of the city, for a large area, about 2 miles by 2 miles, private vehicles are banned. No cars, no trucks, nothing allowed. What's allowed? Buses, light rail, cycles, and pedestrians. And suddenly, the center of the city became a fantastic place. There was no congestion, no traffic congestion. They took all these roads that were for cars, and in the center of the road, they put a light rail. And on the either side of the light rail, they put bicycle paths. So suddenly, all this, the pollution in the center of the city declined. Congestion in the center of the city declined. And it became a fantastic place. So it's one of the, when I teach my planning students, that's one of the examples that I always share. Our city that was a really typical US city which was sprawling and extending, through policy, they changed it and they made it a very, very nice place. And once the density started increasing, it had the threshold population for different kinds of uses. So people can now in Portland, they can walk to a store to buy milk and bread rather than having to drive. So it's really like many US cities were 50, 60 years ago, like many European cities are today. People can still, in many old European cities, people can still, like especially if you, not so much in UK and France or Germany, but if you go to Soviet bloc, like if you go to Prague or Belgrade, those countries did not economically, progress so much. So their development pattern is still from the 1950s and 60s. And so there is this mix of land uses. You can still walk. Like if you go to like Belgrade or so, like every 100 or every 300 or 400 feet there's a store. And it will have, like it's milk, bread, all those things. So they brought that back to Portland. Okay, mixed land uses, pedestrian oriented streets, and transit oriented development, all of that, they brought it back. Okay, so urban growth boundary works very, very well. But in the US, there is so much of opposition to any limit like that. Portland is the only city that has been able to do it. Everyone in the country has seen what a positive impact it has. No one else has been able to do it. Because no other people in other places, they were, how can you limit me? I don't agree to this limitation.
So the question is, if there are residential area in the area where traffic is coming more with cars, buses, blah, 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 how do they take their cars? At least that is allowed.
Yeah, that is allowed.
For some time, it might be allowed.
Yeah, it might be allowed. So there'll be some passes that allow you to have, these transponders on the car, like you have on highways in India. For the toll, you have a thing. Yes, fast track, whatever that. So similar kind of thing. So at every place it is push, and so if your car has, you have a resident, you have a transponder, so you can go in. Yeah. So the other is a technique that they have used is infill. Infill meaning in center of the city, lots of land is underutilized because of urban sprawl. People have gone up. So cities are saying that if you build new developments, commercial housing in the areas close to the center of the city, then we will give you a permit much faster. Building permit will be much faster. and all the connections and everything will give you much faster. And we might also give you the city might also give some money to the development to happen. City might give a private developer some money to build that development. Why does the city give the private developer? Remember we had this discussion on municipal finances? Cities get money from property taxes. So if there is 1 acre of land in the center of the city that has got water supply, sewage, but that 1 acre of land, there is no development on it, then its market value is say, let's say 10 lakhs. And the property tax, let's say, is 1% of 10 lakhs. Okay? So the city is getting only 1% of 10 lakhs in property taxes. And it's spending all this money to maintain the water supply now. So the city says, developer, come and build 100 houses on this 1 acre. When they build 100 houses on this 1 acre, now that piece of property, the land plus the property, is now worth 300 crores. And the property tax on that is still 1%, but is 1% of 300 crores instead of 1% of 10 lakhs. So the city might give like 10 lakhs to the builder to give them an incentive, but in exchange the city will get much more than that as property taxes even in 1 year. Their whole 10 lakh investment will come back within less than 1 year. But the developer will say, oh, I got 10 lakhs, I'm going to build here. Okay, so the city gives an incentive to make that happen because they get this property tax and as a, they make back, they get much more than what they've given in a very quick period of time. The other thing that cities are trying to do, and actually our planners are trying to do this, not so much the city, doing mixed land uses. What's mixed land use? It's outside NIT campus. That's mixed land use. But even in India, I think some of the new developments are not mixed land use, right? You have only residential areas or only commercial areas. So there, and this is in the US, that's been happening for the last 50, 60 years. So now the governments are saying, and planners are also saying, we want mixed land use. We want residential, commercial all next to each other. We want commercial on the lower floor and residential on top. Okay, so they're encouraging that because when you have that mix of land uses, then people don't have to drive to walk or for shopping and all that. That's happening. Then transit-oriented development, they're trying to encourage bus systems and all.
Higher densities around stoppages.
Yeah, higher densities around stoppages. And when we discuss transportation planning tomorrow, I'll share with you the example of Hong Kong, which is one of the best examples in the world for transportation. But my city is a city of 75,000 population. Iowa City. It is near Chicago. Okay? Iowa City, the University of Iowa. The non-student population is 75,000. The university has 35,000 students. Okay, so total student plus non-student population is about 110. Most people don't, it's very walkable, so out of the 35,000 students, about 25,000 walk to campus, okay? So some live on campus, maybe 10,000 live on campus, about 15 to 18,000 walk to campus, and a few drive to campus. And some of the people among the population, the non-student population, maybe 10%. The city is very walkable, but everyone is used to driving by car. They don't drive, they don't walk, they drive. And there is a very good bus system. So the city decided to encourage public transportation. They decided in 2023, they decided that they will provide, the bus system is very good, okay? It never gets crowded. The buses are not, the public gives, all the buses are AC. And it's very cool in summer and heated in winter, and generally everyone can sit. Very few people are standing, even at rush hour. Very few people. So buses are very good. And bus is not as frequent as it comes once in 30 minutes or so. Okay, so you have to wait for some time, but the bus will come. And you have an app. The app will tell you where the bus is. So if you're sitting in your house, it'll give you a note saying that bus is arriving in 3 minutes. So you can just walk to your place and get into the bus. I actually go by bus, even though I'm when I'm at home, I only use the bus. So my city decided that we really need to encourage public transportation. And
the last bus from university.
Last time?
And last time would be 10 p.m. 10 p.m.
So you are eating or working late fast.
If I'm working late, yeah,
Bike.
well, I can bike, but if I'm going to work late, what I do is I go home at around 7:30, eat dinner, take my car and come back. If I'm working late.
Bicycles, is it very cold? Or?
It is very cold in winters and very hot in summer.
And what morning and buses available?
Bus is available from 6 a.m. Yeah. So bus service is not available from around 10 to 6, 10 p.m. to 6 p.m.
I think it's more efficient. So half an hour you have to wait.
Yeah, half an hour. Yeah, half an hour. But the thing is, you know, most people's jobs, people work from say 9 to 6 or something like that, right? So you know that there is a bus coming at 8:30. You go and get the 8:30 bus. The 8:30 bus will always come at 8:30. You take the bus, you'll reach. You know, for me, my bus comes at. If I want to reach my office at 9 o'clock, I have a bus that comes at 8:20 and a bus that comes at 8:40. So I can take either of those buses. So generally, I go for the 8:20 bus, and I reach office about just before 9 o'clock, and I can get some work done.
And that the route you take from your home to the university is the same. The frequency goes to the downtown. There's another area and the downtown has a higher.
No, my university is close to downtown, so I can take the bus. I mean, I can take the bus in either direction. Like the one when the bus is going away from my house, I can get into the bus and then come back. If I want to enjoy the bus ride, or I can, when the bus is coming back to downtown, I get into that bus and get to go in.
But when we were staying in Kushan, we were not facing life in the sense in order to go to some of the shopping areas, the timing was not very convenient.
That's because Tucson is and Phoenix are really horrible places for bus.
And I don't think that they take an initiative in order to have a
Patna will be a great contrast for you. Where there is not that population, and then as your 2011 it was 20 lakh.
Yeah.
Other areas,
Yeah.
so it will be a great contrast for you.
Yeah.
Your town. Have you taken a ride around the town?
No, not yet, not yet. But I've
From the
taken.
airport to this place?
Oh, airport you get, that's all. And that's the only one trip I've made this time. But you know, I've traveled a lot. How many of so Patna does not have a metro, right?
It's
coming.
coming.
It's coming. It will come one day. It will come.
Please see just around the corner because this is the
But it
university
is coming soon.
It is coming soon.
Next
This
year.
year, by the end of this year.
Yeah. So I've traveled so much in India over the period of over so many years. I have metro cards for 7 cities in India. 7 Indian cities I have a metro card. Okay.
Okay.
But you don't have metro in your city, right?
My city, no, there's no metro.
Doesn't need one. In India, there is a regulation that the cities with more than 20 lakh population will have 20 lakh is
2 million.
2 million.
Yeah.
So, no, 2.2 million. I think 10 lakh is 1 million.
10 lakhs is 1 million.
So 20 lakh is 2 million.
Yeah.
So those cities with over 2 million population will get better. The
Okay.
government will
It's
sanction.
1 million. 1 million, more than 1 million.
But America, they don't encourage train as much.
That is what you're saying.
Yeah, they don't encourage.
They don't encourage even bus also.
Even bus also.
They don't
But
encourage
the-
bus. If you
but
go
the-
there, they will not like it.
All the cities like Colorado and all, they have good bus system for colleges, I guess.
Many cities have, but Phoenix and Tucson are very bad places because they're.
Whole day for us to go to the bus and all.
Yeah. So in my city, the city is very progressive. Okay, in 1969, my city decided that when we grow, we don't want to be auto dependent. So the city decided to come up with a walkability plan in 1969, and they made sure that the city is developed in a way that everyone can walk everywhere. In 1969, okay, when the rest of the country was trying to make a car dependent society, my city was saying we don't want car dependency, and you can still see that. But in 2023, my city said we really need to reduce our pollution and our carbon footprint. And one of the ways we can do that is to get some people to give up the car and start riding the bus. So the city did 2 things. One, the city said, we are going to increase the parking fees everywhere. So in most US cities, you can't park in the middle of the road, right? Here there are parking spots, you have to park in the spot and you have to pay. Or you have a parking ramp, parking structure, you have to pay that. The city said, we are going to double all the parking fee, okay? To discourage people. But simultaneously they said, all public transportation is free. So where are they getting the money for the free transportation? From the parking fee. So they took all the parking fee, and the parking fee increases so much, they could increase the number of buses. And ridership has gone up. Suddenly, like, you know, let's say in a town of 75,000, maybe there were 10,000 people riding the bus every day. Now there are 25,000 people riding the bus. Because people don't have to pay for the bus, and by taking the bus, they don't have to pay for parking, which has gone up higher. So there are ways in which by policy you can change that, get people to do different things.
One such policy was yesterday from Mumbai, so like there were so many cars lying outside road and all, so the government came up with a plan that no one will you can't purchase a car unless you have a parking place.
Yeah.
That was in Tripura also.
If you have to show your parking spot, that you have a place to park.
Oh, that's it. Did I tell you about the thing in Singapore?
Yeah.
About the license plate? Yeah.
Singapore is not a place to have your car.
Yeah. Singapore, Hong Kong, all those places you should.
When we went there, someone offered us the ride in the car, and he was telling me, so that it is a bit that I thought we should get down from that.
Yeah, Singapore, this is
Very costly in order to have. Earlier it was not like that, they really made it very difficult to have.
Yeah, so now as I said the other day in Singapore, if you want to, they issue only certain number of license plates every year. So even if you're not planning to buy a car, you put your name in the lottery for a license plate, and you get the license plate, and then if you can't afford the car, you sell the license plate, and then you'll get some money to buy a car.
And then again you accumulate that money to buy the license plate.
Yeah, so you sell the license plate today, you get 50,000 US dollars, and then again you apply for a license plate.
Singapore is not encouraged to have that.
Yeah.
That's the policy.
And it's very good. And also this is,
I would say it's a good in terms of going to the workplace and coming, but if you are going to the other part and all, that was very also
Not very
not
good.
efficient. We have to go to the Jews and forest areas. And all.
it's not very efficient.
But within the cities and the workplace,
but
that is not efficient.
Yes, you could walk around some areas. If you had to go to different places only, then you would take a rickshaw or something. So it was walkable. But now you can't even take one.
Yeah.
And you can't even think of, we don't allow our kids in our families to buy two-wheelers. Because they're so dangerous, the cars are so fast on the streets.
Yeah.
That you're scared, you don't want to allow the kids for two-wheelers.
Yeah. I'll just say two more things about Singapore, okay? So Singapore, the transportation system is good, but it's not as good as Hong Kong. Hong Kong, to go anywhere, anytime, you get a very good system, very good. Singapore also, but has a really cool thing, okay? That is, when you are driving in the car, if there is some congestion on, let's say, one main road. So, like in India, every city has got this one main road called Gandhi Road, right? Every city has got Mahatma Gandhi Road. Okay. In Singapore, the founder of the place is called Raffles, R-A-F-F-L-S. So there is a big Raffles Road everywhere. So let's say Raffles Road, you're heading towards Raffles Road on some road, and there's congestion on Raffles Road. Okay. So to reduce the congestion, the transportation authority will say, in your car, you'll get it on your phone, you get a message on your phone. Right now, if you go to Raffles Road, there is a toll that you have to pay, 10 Singapore dollars. It will give it to you, so if you want to go to Raffles Road, they will automatically charge you from your transponder 10 Singapore dollars. And that rate is calculated dynamically. That is, it is not preset. They are taking all this information in real time sending it back to you in real time. The only place in the world that has it. It's in real time they're calculating fee. Yeah, you can tell you. Yeah, instead of going here.
Someone that one, they charge something more and they can maybe.
So then after that, what happens is Raffles Road, so they will put the higher fee. People will start going to other, and then Raffles Road will become pay some fee. Yeah. So Singapore does it, okay, and
They have also, if you are more number of persons living in the lane, which was
high occupancy lane. Then
that also is a way to encourage the car. A lot of people will come in.
yes, and developing countries, not in Singapore, if you have occupancy lanes where you say that 2 or 3 people you can go through this, people will get this eye that looks like a person. Right? Like in stores, this men and women, right? 2 of these and put it in the car.
Actually, lift is not allowed.
Oh, really?
I've seen on social media, some had given lift from some.
You're out there something.
No, government pay charges. How can you only to know, not to unknown. You stop your car anywhere.
You know, if you go in the supermarket, you will ask you, okay, you just leave.
पर ये अलाउड नहीं है यहाँ होता है क्योंकि यहाँ पे भी it's not applicable.
But I think it's not encouraged also.
हाँ,
You don't know who you are living
Yeah, safety and security is
So then I'll just share one more method, okay? Market mechanism for discouraging urban sprawl. So what cities do in the US is, they tell the developer, if you want to build 3 or 4 miles away from the center of the city, we will not stop you. However, to provide all the infrastructure there, the cost is so many lakh rupees. You give us that money. Why is the developer building outside cheaper land? The city is saying, we have to provide so much of infrastructure. You give us the money for the infrastructure, we'll let you build there. Then the developer does a calculation and he finds that actually it's cheaper for me to build closer to the city. Rather than, because although the land is cheaper, by the time I pay the fee, the cost becomes higher. So let me build closer to the city and I don't have to pay the fee. And then, he builds it closer. So the city discourages sprawl. Okay? So it's 4:30 now. I've kept you guys here for a longer period of time. But remember, yesterday you went off earlier. Remember? So today, compensation. Okay, see you guys tomorrow. Okay, bye.
Some participants may have to attendance, so please make